Have you ever felt like you've spent your whole life giving, yet never received the appreciation you deserve? Sometimes the ones we love and help don't seem to understand the value of what we've given them, do they? And then, as age catches up with us, we realize not everyone is worthy of our kindness. There are those who only show up when they need something, yet never stand by your side when you need them the most. Today's story will help you recognize those people you should stop helping in order to protect yourself, your health, and your beautiful memories. Stay with us till the end, because the people in your life may be hiding signs you haven't noticed. And who knows, this might just change the way you view the relationships around you. If you find this story meaningful, don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe to the channel for more heartfelt stories. Let's create a community where we care for one another, a place where each of us is heard and appreciated. Have you ever sat alone on a quiet evening, gazing out the window, watching the night slowly fall, yet feeling a weight in your heart? On days like this, we may find ourselves remembering the past, the days when we were younger, full of energy, and didn't hesitate to give all our time to help those around us. Those afternoons when you sat in the old wooden chair, your hands trembling, yet you didn't mind the effort as you helped your grandchildren with their homework or rushed over to a friend's house to fix something they couldn't do themselves. In those moments, you felt warmth in your heart, knowing that you were still useful, that you could still do something good for those you love. But over the years, these acts of kindness began to feel more like a habit, one that wasn't always met with appreciation. One day you realized that those you've helped don't seem to fully understand the value of your kindness. They only come when they need something, when they face difficulties, but when you need them, they're quietly absent. Have you ever felt like a shadow, quietly giving everything you have, but never receiving any care or even a simple thank you in return? I'm sure in those moments you felt a little disappointed in your heart. No matter how many times you give, you receive nothing but silence, indifference. This is a feeling that many of us older folks have experienced, whether helping our children, friends, or even neighbors, people we thought would always appreciate us. But in reality, it's not always that way. Have you ever asked yourself, am I helping the right people? Or am I simply wearing myself out for those who will never appreciate it? And then these thoughts begin to creep in. Don't you deserve appreciation too? Don't you have the right to rest, to be loved and cared for, not just give without ever receiving anything in return? Those precious years of yours, why should they be spent on people who don't value your sacrifices? This situation is not uncommon, dear friends. Many of us, as we age, still carry the habit of helping others without realizing that not everyone is deserving of that kindness. That's why it's so important to recognize who truly needs help and who is just taking advantage of your goodwill. Be careful, because there are people in this world who will make you feel obligated to help them, but in reality, they will never appreciate you. Dear friends, we can still protect ourselves from those who are undeserving, as long as we learn to identify them and gently say no. Every time you help someone, ask yourself, does this help really bring value to both of us? Or am I just continuing an endless cycle of futility? These small questions can help you realize that you are not an endless source of energy, and you don't need to keep giving without receiving the appreciation you deserve. Imagine, dear friends, you are sitting in your familiar home, in your favorite old wooden chair, where every evening you usually sit with a cup of tea, gazing out at the view. At that moment, you might feel the stillness, but deep inside there's a lingering concern that's hard to express. Joe, a retired carpenter, had his evenings like that too. He lived in his simple home, surrounded by familiar things, each shelf, each table that he had crafted with his own hands. Every one of these items held a memory, a piece of labor from days gone by. Joe was always willing to help those around him. Often he would sit down with his children and grandchildren to repair things in the house or simply offer advice when they faced difficulties. Though age had made his hands tremble, his heart remained as strong as ever. The image of him sitting, hands clasped together, gazing at the things in his home, his eyes still lighting up as he remembered the days of old. But gradually, Joe began to sense something unspeakable. Despite all the times he had given, the people he had helped never seemed to express their gratitude. They only came when they needed something, and hurried away once they had taken what they wanted. One day, as Joe sat in his old wooden chair, he reflected on all the times he had lent money, fixed cars, and helped his children and friends without ever asking for anything in return. But this time, in that quiet moment, he realized that he had been giving too much without receiving the appreciation he truly deserved. In his heart, there was a sense of emptiness, not because of regret for what he had given, but because he felt that he was no longer important to those people in his life. "Have I been too easy to give?" Joe asked himself. But then, silence once again enveloped him, just as it always did whenever he asked this question before drifting off to sleep. A part of him wanted to keep giving, while another part reminded him to set limits. Joe wasn't unaware that kindness shouldn't be given indiscriminately, but recognizing the signs had come too late, leaving him feeling exhausted. Dear friends, I'm sure in your life, there have been moments like Joe's, when you've given your all but received only cold indifference in return. The acts of kindness that seemed endless, but the soul-crushing exhaustion came from those you always thought would appreciate it. That's when you realize not everyone deserves your kindness. The question we must ask ourselves is, am I wearing myself out for people who don't know how to appreciate it? Dear friends, sometimes throughout our lives, we can't avoid situations where we feel taken advantage of. There are people who, no matter how much we give, never seem to appreciate it. And more importantly, we need to recognize these types of people in order to protect ourselves from emotional and financial harm. Here are some typical situations in which we must avoid helping others in our later years to protect ourselves. 1. The chronic taker. The one who always takes but never gives back. Imagine a familiar situation. Have you ever met a relative or friend who always comes to you when they're in trouble? One time they need money to pay a bill, and another time they need your help fixing a broken car. You're willing to help because you think they're family, and maybe this will be the last time they face such a difficulty. But then, the next week, it's another request, and each time they promise to repay you, but you soon realize they never actually give anything back. Joe, a retired carpenter from Greenwood, had helped his grandson time and time again. Whether it was small amounts of money or fixing an old car, Joe always thought he was helping them get back on their feet, helping them grow up. But as the years went by, the situation didn't change. His grandson still didn't work hard, still depended on Joe's help. Eventually, Joe realized that what he was doing wasn't helping. It was enabling stagnation. Joe decided to stop and refuse the unreasonable request from his grandson, protecting himself from exhaustion. 2. The emotional manipulator. The one who manipulates your emotions. Maybe you've met someone like Martha, an old friend of Joe's who always talks about her life struggles in a dramatic way. Martha never directly asks for help, but every time she meets Joe, she sighs and says, "Life is so tough, I don't know what to do." Every time she says that, Joe feels guilty and wants to help her, even though he has nothing left to give. She never directly asks, but cleverly makes Joe feel responsible to save her. Though Joe cared deeply for his friend, he started realizing that his help wasn't what she needed. It was just a way for Martha to avoid facing the truth and taking responsibility for her own life. Gradually, Joe decided to set boundaries, no longer allowing himself to be emotionally manipulated, and understood that refusing didn't mean he didn't care for her. 3. The reckless spender. The one who spends without thinking. While Joe was always careful with his finances and took care of his savings, Steve, an old friend of his, was the complete opposite. Steve would always turn to Joe when he had financial problems. This time it was money to pay a bill. Next it was to cover a credit card debt. But when Joe looked back, he realized that every time he helped Steve, he never saw him change his bad spending habits. Steve never learned how to manage his money, and each time Joe helped, he just dug himself deeper into debt. Joe had warned Steve many times, but eventually he realized that his kindness and help couldn't change Steve's irresponsible spending habits. When Joe decided to refuse to help Steve, he realized he wasn't the only one trapped in this cycle. If you can't help someone change the way they live, it's better to protect your own finances and health. The perpetual victim. The one who's always the victim. There's a type of person you can easily recognize in life. Those who always blame circumstances and never take responsibility. Helen, one of Joe's close friends, was an example. Every time something went wrong, Helen would complain that the world was against her. She never realized that her failures were due to how she faced life. Each time, Joe would try to encourage and help her, but in the end, he realized that his advice was falling on deaf ears. Helen didn't need help, she just needed sympathy, and she never had the intention to change herself. Joe understood that helping people like this wasn't always the right thing to do. It was about learning to say no and showing them that only when they changed themselves could they escape the cycle of failure. Through these situations, dear friends, you can see that not everyone deserves our kindness. Helping others is good, but sometimes we need to know how to say no and protect ourselves. Giving doesn't always lead to receiving, and that's why we need to learn to identify healthy relationships, those who truly need help and those who are only taking advantage of our goodwill. Dear friends, throughout our lives, there are times when we give our all and receive nothing in return. It's an inseparable part of our journey, especially as we grow older. However, the important thing is that we must learn to recognize who truly needs help and who only takes advantage of our kindness. Have you ever asked yourself, am I taking enough care of myself? Am I building healthy relationships? Or am I draining my energy for people who aren't deserving? Just like Joe, the retired carpenter from Greenwood, sometimes we too face situations that leave us feeling exhausted because we've been too generous, too devoted, without receiving the appreciation we deserve. But dear friends, the golden years of life aren't a race to help everyone. This is the time to enjoy what you've built, to take care of yourself, and to reap the rewards of all the hard work you've done throughout your life. Our kindness is precious, but not everyone deserves it. We shouldn't allow ourselves to be taken advantage of, because it's only by protecting ourselves that we can continue to love and help those who truly deserve it. Don't let yourself be emotionally manipulated. Don't let those who always try to borrow without ever returning cause you to lose faith in relationships. Learn to say no gently, because sometimes saying no is the best way to protect yourself. The key is to learn how to set boundaries. No one can love and help others if they don't love and care for themselves first. You deserve relationships where the help is mutual, where love isn't about unconditional sacrifice, but about equal sharing. In fact, when we know how to say no at the right time, when we know how to set limits, we not only protect ourselves, but we also help others realize the value of true kindness and love. Remember, dear friends, the golden years are a precious journey. Don't let those who don't appreciate you make you forget that. You can still find peace, and it's the change in perspective that will help you live a happier, stronger life. Sometimes saying no isn't about being rigid. It's about maturity. When you know how to say no, you're actually showing love to yourself and to those who truly deserve it. Dear friends, protect yourself from exhaustion and depletion. Spend time with those who truly appreciate you and cherish the moments that matter in life. Don't forget to share your story below this video and leave your thoughts. Together, we will create a community where everyone is valued and heard. Dear friends, life is a long journey, and each of us goes through challenging phases. Perhaps you've given so much, spent a lifetime helping those around you, only to realize that you haven't received the appreciation you deserve. However, along every path, you can still change your perspective. And most importantly, you can create a future filled with happiness and peace. When we learn to protect ourselves and set boundaries, we not only safeguard ourselves, but also open the door to receiving genuine affection from those who truly deserve it. Joe, after years of selflessly helping others, finally realized that he too needed care and love. He decided to decline unreasonable requests from those who didn't appreciate him, and instead he chose to invest his time in relationships that truly added value to his life. Sometimes what matters isn't how much we give, but where and to whom we give it. The people we love, those who truly appreciate us, will always be grateful and value what we do. And dear friends, if there's no one around to appreciate you, then you must learn to appreciate yourself. Kindness and sacrifice do not mean pouring everything into those who don't value it. Instead, they should be shared with relationships that bring true joy and happiness. Remember, age is not a burden, but a treasure trove of wisdom and experience. Every step, every decision you make on your journey holds invaluable worth. No matter what age you are, you can still change your life. You can still find joy, peace, and meaningful relationships. The key is knowing that you deserve all the beautiful things life has to offer. So, dear friends, don't let fear or exhaustion steal your belief in life. Protect what's most precious: your health, your soul, and your peace of mind. Open your heart to welcome those who deserve to be a part of your life, and don't hesitate to say no to those who only seek to take advantage of your kindness. You can still find peace, even through small steps every day. If this story touched your heart, if these words helped you reflect on your own life, don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments below. Share your story and continue building a community where everyone is valued and heard. Remember, you are always valuable, and there are still many wonderful things waiting for you in life. Dear friends, after all the stories we've shared today, perhaps you've started to think differently about how we give and receive in life. The golden years are not a time for us to keep making sacrifices without receiving anything in return, but rather a time to protect ourselves and enjoy the precious moments that life has given us. Now, I'd like to invite you to share your own story. Have you ever found yourself in a situation like Joe's, where you gave your all but didn't receive the appreciation you deserved? Or perhaps you've had to learn how to say no to unreasonable requests in order to protect yourself? Your stories and experiences are incredibly valuable, and I believe they can help others, especially those who may feel lonely or unheard. Please feel free to leave your thoughts below this video. We're eager to hear from you. Whether it's your personal story or just a small thought, every comment is precious. And if you feel this video has been helpful, don't hesitate to share it with your loved ones, those you believe will find value in it. Together, we can build a community where everyone is respected and heard. Small steps each day can create big changes. Remember, no matter where you are in your life's journey, you can always start again and create a happier future. And when you set the right boundaries, you not only protect yourself, but also allow the relationships that truly matter to grow and flourish. Finally, I want to remind you, no one can love others if they don't love themselves first. Don't hesitate to set boundaries and make time for moments of peace. You deserve that. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any other meaningful stories. Let's share joy and peace with the people you love. A life message to you, my elderly friends. Dear friends, have you ever sat in your familiar chair, watching the days pass by, and wondered, I've given so much, but what have I received in return? In fact, along this long journey, kindness doesn't always get the appreciation it deserves. But dear friends, remember this: not everyone is worthy of what we give. Sometimes saying no gently and setting boundaries is the way to protect yourself and live a life of peace and happiness. Age is a precious journey, a treasure trove of experiences that you've worked so hard to build. Don't let those who don't appreciate you wear you out. You can still find joy and health, even with small steps every day. Always remember that you deserve love and appreciation, even if not everyone in your life sees that. So today, take a moment to listen to yourself, to care for yourself with love, and don't hesitate to refuse what doesn't deserve your energy. You can still change and create healthy relationships, meaningful moments in your life. Every day, even the small ones, can make a big difference. You are not only valuable, but also an inspiration to everyone around you. Remember, loving and taking care of yourself is not selfish. It's the way to continue living a meaningful, healthy, and joyful life. I wish you always keep the fire of life burning brightly in your heart, no matter the ups and downs of age.